Hey guys, Nick here. So today we're going to be taking a look at the 2025 Honda Pioneer 1005 Trail Edition. Now I made a video on the Trail Edition about 2 years ago now for the 2023 model year. And since then Honda has made a pretty big change to this model in a new addition, the audio system. Now we got a lot to talk about here. We got to talk about the different trim levels, pricing, and we'll go for a full tour around this machine of all the features and especially focusing on that audio system. But there's some other huge benefits that stand out that make the Trail Edition and not just a deluxe with some bling to it. So let's first dive into talking about the different trim levels that Honda offers on the 1000 platform and what those key differences are. Now in terms of the 5-seater variant, you have 3 trim levels. You have the base, which only comes in Honda Red, which I guess they call Hero Red. Then they come out with the Deluxe, which comes in 3 colors. You have a blue, you have a deep forest green, and Honda Red for the Deluxe. Now all 1000s come standard with the Honda 1000cc fuel-injected, liquid-cooled, twin-cylinder motor, which is paired up to a 6-speed dual-clutch transmission. You have 2-wheel, 4-wheel drive, diff lock, and you have a turf mode, which disengages the rear differential, which is quite nice. And they come standard with power steering. Now when you move into Deluxe, you get the nice side paneling like you see on the Trail, but it's finished in the color that I told you and doesn't have all the different color schemes like the Trail has here, all the special graphics to it. You also get the aluminum wheels and you get some under-seat storage under the dash. As well, you get 12-volt cigarette outlet in the bed and under the dash. So with the Deluxe, you're really just getting some more visual improvements. You are getting the switch panel under the dash, so if you want to add accessories and stuff like that, that's already nice that it's already pre-installed and it's set to go. Now neither of those models comes with any kind of enclosures, roof windshields, anything like that, but Honda has a million accessories, so you can still completely fully enclose these machines if you want to. I have a full video on all of the accessories, so all of that pop up, but be sure to check that out after this video if you want to learn about all the different ways you can accessorize one of these units. Now let's talk about my favorite, which is the Trail Edition. So first, let's briefly cover what comes with the Trail Edition over the Deluxe. Well, for starters, we have a different polished finish on the aluminum wheels. We have Fox shocks. We have a worn 4,500-pound winch right up front. We have Honda's i4-wheel drive. We have the audio system. We have a roof and we have the windshield, as well as a rear view mirror. There is quite a lot of added features that you can't really just spec out and accessorize on a Deluxe, such as the nice adjustable Fox suspension. Now you have to manually adjust those. It's just a little clicker on top, but really if you just run them in about the middle setting, you're probably never going to have to adjust them. But they do ride significantly nicer with the Fox shocks on these machines. Next is the 4,500-pound Warn winch, Honda Warn winch right up front in that front bumper. That's a super nice setup up there, tucks right in, real high quality cable and everything. You got a nice switch under in the dashboard as well on that. And you have a free spool on the side of the winch, so you can just pull that right out if you need longer cable. Now the other big feature with the Trail is the i4-wheel drive, which Honda doesn't really promote and push out there. You do have a nice little emblem on the hood that tells you i4-wheel drive, but to a normal everyday person, you're gonna have no idea really what that means, and you're not really gonna notice that unless you drive this machine and you have it in 4-wheel drive and you wanna go put it in diff lock, and you can't on this. So i4-wheel drive will basically electronically deliver and send power to wheels that aren't slipping, that need power, where they have traction, and basically kind of electronically adjust where the power is going on wheels when you're in slippery conditions. That's the most basic way of explaining it. Honda's website, you can really kind of dive in and try to read up more on it, but there isn't too much information out there on it. From what I could read, it would basically apply brake pressure to the wheels that are spinning and thus sending power to the other wheel that has traction. It's definitely something I would recommend reading a bit on Honda's website. And then finally, the big upgrade for 2025 is the audio system. Now, like most of you, you're probably here because of the audio system, so we will spend a lot of time on that in this video, but not quite at this moment. But what I will say is there are 200-watt front speakers under the dashboard, and then you have rear-mounted 200-watt speakers on the rear cage, and then you have a 500-watt subwoofer located under the driver's seat. Now the color scheme for this year I think is a pretty safe, timeless combo. It's all silver with some gray and Honda red, which I think ties everything together and is a smart look for Honda. You have red Fox shocks underneath, you have the black with the silver aluminum wheels, and then you have the silver finish with the little bit of red highlights. I think it's tastefully done and it's not overdone. But they did used to offer 2 colors. Now for this year, they only offer 1 color. It only comes in this finish. So I guess you better hope you like it. But it does look really sharp in person. The dealership here that it's been at has had this outside for a couple of days now, and they just get compliments about how good it looks, and people are really hyped up over the audio system. It does sound quite nice. Now before we dive any deeper into this video, I want to briefly thank and mention Jaff Motors, located in Glenville, New York, which has lent me this unit here today to show you all around it and talk about it. So I have all their info on screen as well down below. So if you're interested in picking one of these up or any of Honda's side-by-sides, be sure to reach out to them and let them know Brick Nick sent you. Now let's continue back into the video. Now we're going to work our ways around the outside of this machine. So we're going to start right up front, as there's a good amount to talk about up here. Starting off with that winch. Now, like I briefly mentioned before, this has a 4,500 pound Warn winch mounted right up front in that bumper. It's a pretty nice slick setup. You got a free spool on the right side so you can pull it out. It's a steel cable. And there isn't too much to talk about there. It's a winch, it's a top of the line winch, and it's a nice setup. Now while we're under there, we can kind of look under the fender and we're going to see our Fox shocks. Now those are going to have a 3-position adjustable clicker on them, so you can have a real soft, a medium, and a firm setting on them. Now the one which is on the far left, which is white, that's going to be your softest setting, and 3, as the colors get darker towards the right side, is going to be your firmest setting, and 2 is right in the middle, straight up, and that is going to be your right kind of in the middle setting. So all 4 of them you have to manually adjust, but it's also nice if they're not electronic. You don't have to worry about any kind of electrical there with those you have to mess with. But they're pretty easy to set up and change. Once you have them set how you want them, you're really not going to go back and adjust them. Now as we work our way above the fender, we have our front hood. The main hood of the machine is a silver finish, and it's a little bit darker gray where our front hood is. That is removable. And of course we have our dual clutch transmission and our i4-wheel drive logos on the side, and then you have your Pioneer Trail Edition right up front and center. But let's take this cover off. So you just pull these tabs up, you twist them 90 degrees, you lift up, slide forward, it pops right off. Now under here is all of our main electronics of this machine, as well as a couple other things. We have our toolkit, you have your coolant reservoir, top of your radiator, your battery, and all your main electronics. Now another nice thing of this unit, since it has the radio, it already has the fuse box installed, which I believe is like a $200 or $300 accessory from Honda. Anytime you want to add lights on this, you have to get that. So it is quite nice that this already has that installed, and it's included in its price tag. Now on our passenger door, we have a handle on the inside of the door, and right down here is our fuel fill. Pretty simple setup. Now these thousands have about an 8-gallon fuel tank in them, so they'll hold plenty of fuel and keep you out riding for most of the day. Now with this being a 5-seater variant, you of course have the option to make this have 2 seats or be a workable dumpable bed. So right there you can see it's fully dumpable. You got a full tilt assist. Underneath too, while it is dumped, you will also be able to see all the footwells and your steps for when you have it in the 5-seater variant. Kind of hidden under the bed, and you just push down to shut the bed. Now on the back you have of course your tailgate, which all it is 2 latches that hold it in, and from there we'll see our 12-volt outlet in the bed. Now with this being a bed, you can still carry and hold 3 people in the front seats as it's a bench seat setup, but in the back you get the addition of 2 more seats. And what's nice is you get to run this in a half variant or full, so you can have this hold 4 people or even 5, and so you can still have half the bed usable if you have just 1 seat up. And then in the back below your bumper, you're going to see your trailer hitch, which you can just slide a receiver right in there, and you can tow any kind of utility trailer or boat trailers around your property. Now getting to how the seats will work, basically walk up, you open your door, then you're going to grab the seat, With your hand, you're going to pull up on it. It's going to click into place. Then you're going to have a release on top of the seat. You're going to push that down and you're going to lock it in, and the whole seat won't be going anywhere. And then you have a harness that's kind of hidden up top. You can pull that down, do a full seatbelt harness like you do up front, which is pretty nice. And then when you're done, you can pull up on the bottom part of the seat, clip that away, and then in the back you're going to have a release, so you can pull that. Now anytime you want to pull the seat up or pull the seat back down, you have to have the door open as it locks in that seat. And push the seat back down, and then you can shut your door. Alrighty, so now that we are sitting in the Pioneer, I actually want to quickly mention the roof. Now the roof you can tilt out. You turn these little knobs one on each side, and you will basically be able to just push it out, and you'll get about like a 4 to 6 inch gap right here, pushing it up, allowing you to get some extra air through into your cabin. Now there's a good amount of stuff here on our dashboard, but we're going to start down below. We have our storage. We have 2 compartments there. You have one in the middle, and you have one in front of your driver's seat. Now the one in the middle has your 12-volt cigarette outlet down there located. And if you look to the right and left of it, you'll be able to see kind of the cutouts where the speakers are. So they are a little bit hidden. So they're kind of hidden in there, but it's kind of a nice little place where they are located. Now above that, we have 2 switches. We have our in and our out for our winch. We have on and off. We have an accessory light inside in the dash right here, which I'm going to show a clip so you can actually see it function. And it lights up the whole floorboard area, giving you some nice illumination in the nighttime when you're working and driving around in your machine and you kind of want to see, maybe you drop something on the ground, for example. Now above that, we have our off, our low, and our high beam for our headlights. We have our automatic, manual, and our sport mode for our drive. And we have our hill start assist. Of course, a big warning label. We have our audio unit. We'll get into that. On the left side with our drive stuff, we have our neutral, we have a high, and we have a low range on this machine. You have your reverse, park is up and over. Then in the middle, we have our turf mode, which disengages the rear differential, making it basically one-wheel drive, so you can do tight turns and it doesn't rip up the lawn. Then over, you have 2-wheel drive, which locks the rear diff, which is just going to give you a little bit more better control, maybe more sport riding. You want to throw the rear end around, kind of drift the unit. That's going to be a little bit nicer for that. Or if it's just a little bit more slippery and you want a little bit more traction going up a hill, but you don't need 4-wheel drive. Then you have the 4-wheel drive, which is i4-wheel drive, which I explained earlier, which electronically adjusts where the power is going throughout the unit. You do have a tilt on your steering wheel. You can pull up and down, which is quite nice. Now getting into our dashboard, your drivetrain, so it lets you know what you're in. That X is hollow right now. It'll fill into a solid when you have it in normal 2-wheel drive, and then the front will fill in when you have it in 4-wheel drive. Of course, your RPMs, mile per hour. You have your total mileage. It'll show you your trips. You have 2 trips, coolant temperature, hours on the machine, your voltage, 100 miles or 20 hours is your first service, which that wrench right there will pop up on your main display when you're not looking at the service intervals. And that basically whatever reaches first will be your first service on this unit, which is really just an oil change, air filter, and check all the fluids over. It's nothing too crazy. You don't have to touch the differentials on them besides just checking levels. That's really all it is. Now on our right side right here is the little audio unit, which plays our radio. Unfortunately, I do have to have it muted because of copyright with YouTube, but you'll see you have your different modes. So we have FM radio, and you'll kind of see it playing right here because there's music going through. You have AM, you have Bluetooth, and you have an aux input. You have your track, so you can change the channel. So we can do that, and you'll see it changes what channel we're listening to, which is nice. You have your volume right here. Volume 20 is about when you really start to hear quite nicely and it's quite loud. 30 is when it starts to get pretty loud in the cabin, and if you're within 30 feet, you're going to hear it pretty well. You do also, if you hold the mode button, you have adjusters for all your equalizer settings, your bass, Bluetooth. You can set where the balance is, if it's more on the left or the right side the music's louder, or the front from the back. In your glove compartment too, because you're probably wondering, hey, where's your aux input? It's going to be right there. There's a little plug there you can lift off, and that's how you have your aux in. In here, there's a lot of booklets. You have your owner's manual, you have the winch booklet, and you have a whole wiring harness in there, which I believe is because of the addition of the audio system. They have to pull one of the harnesses out and swap it out, and so that's the stock harness they include with you. Now with the audio unit, from what I could read, it's 200 watt front speakers, which are these guys right here, and then you have 200 watt speakers in the back of the cage, which are rear mounted, which gives you a nice surround sound audio system. And as well, the subwoofer is located directly under the driver's seat. Now there is a cover over the subwoofer. When we pull the seat off, I'll show you that basically when you have that front seat off, you're not going to see the subwoofer. You would have to take a bunch of clips off to see it, but I did take that off when we first got one in because I wanted to see what it was about, and so I could show you guys, because the everyday person, you're not going to unfortunately be able to go see that subwoofer. They kind of have it stashed away. Now some of you are wondering, are probably like, well, how's the audio quality? Is it a good system? Yeah, it's a really nice setup. So these are the back units right here, mounted on the back of the cage. I'll show you around. Again, I can't really have an audio clip, unfortunately, of them running. I can show you with the subwoofer in motion, but just to kind of show you that, yeah, it works. But I can't have any audio go through just because of YouTube licensing. Both these rear mounted units, you get a really nice surround sound in the cabin. When you're in the middle of the cabin, in the back seats, or in the front, you really do notice and feel it. You see me in the camera, or in the mirror there. So yeah, you get the rear view mirror on this as well. And then here's that other rear speaker right here. So if we kind of back up here, you'll see both of those rear units, how they kind of stash in and point out. So you do notice them. The front ones are quite hidden, which is quite nice. These do stick out a little bit, but I don't think they'll really get in the way of you using the bed on this. As you can kind of see as I back up here, they really don't stick out much. You're not going to be standing right here really, where you're going to be bumping your head on it to access anything in the bed. But it does get quite loud. I have some pretty nice JBL systems at home and different things that I got. So I'd like to think I have a good rough understanding of what good audio sounds like. And yeah, it sounds pretty good. The sub bumps really well. It's kind of funny when you turn this up pretty good. It makes it sound like, you know, if you're like in the city or something and you hear someone drive by and they got like the subs going and it's like rattling like the whole car. This is kind of like that, but not to that extreme. You do notice some kind of rattling throughout the machine. It's just, you know, all that vibration throughout any and every square inch of the machine. Anything that's loose or has a bit of play, you're going to notice that. I don't really think that's a build quality issue on Honda's part, as usually they are pretty good with detonating sound. They got all the adjusters on the door, and you know, the doors don't rattle on this, but you'll notice like internally there's a little bit of rattle, but nothing substantial. It's also quite loud that if you have this idling and you turn it up at a decent volume, you won't even tell the unit is even running. It's that loud. But these have always been pretty quiet machines, the 1000s. So that's my little take on the audio system. I hope that covers it. If you have more questions or concerns, let me know in the comments on the audio system. I'll try and answer some of your questions. Again, Honda doesn't have the best job of liking to provide information on their website, so I got to do some extra digging to usually find that extra information for you. Now, speaking of the audio system, I want to briefly pull the seat off to let you know what I mean. Now, normally you have a storage compartment right here under the driver's seat. You lose that now because the subwoofer is literally right here, facing straight up to the bottom of the driver's seat. But they got a bunch of push pins in here, so you got to remove those if you even want to see it. But I think they do that on purpose. They don't really want you accessing it. And this is all sealed off too, with a drain in the corner, so it avoids any water getting onto the sub. I'd assume the sub and everything else is quite waterproof because they know it's an outdoor machine, so everything should be pretty waterproof. I wouldn't go and use a pressure washer directly onto the speakers, but if you throw some soap on them and use a light hose rinse on them, then that should be good enough to kind of keep the mud in and out of them. But yeah, I think it's time to go take this unit for a spin, enjoy what it looks like, and wrap the video up. Well, that's going to do it for this video. This is quite the unit. This is probably going to be the biggest unit of the year for something really special from Honda that we're going to cover. So I hope you all really did enjoy. Now, there's going to be some questions and concerns about pricing. You can go spec out a deluxe and throw a roof, a windshield, a winch on, and your price difference, I believe, comes out to right about like $3,000, right around there. And keep in mind you're paying for Fox shocks, which is, that alone is a couple $1,000 setup. Let's say we value that at like $1,500. Then you got the i4-wheel drive, which is hard to value because it's an electronic thing that's built into the machine, and you can't just add that as an accessory. So that's a pretty hard thing to kind of value what that's worth. And then you have the audio system, which is a quite expensive setup, because if you were to go and manually buy the audio system, you need the entire fuse box panel set up, you need the whole front speaker audio setup, then you have to buy the rear speakers is additional, and the subwoofer is additional. So once you add all that up, that gap really isn't far off, and that doesn't even include paying to have someone install all those parts, especially the audio system. That's a huge job to take apart and mount everything in. So once you get done with paying someone all the labor for all that, you're going to be pretty much really close to the price of this, and you're still not going to have the Fox shocks, and you're still not going to have the i4-wheel drive. So that's my take on the Trail Edition. Again, Honda has other models. If it's out of your price bracket, they have other models for that exact reason. I think they're getting a little more competitive with the accessory stuff now that they're starting to offer something like this. But for someone that wants a full enclosure, sure, it doesn't have all that yet. But you can still go and get a rear enclosure and a side door or a full door for this if you want to go that route. You can still do all that. But that's really going to do it for this video. We're going to wrap it up here. Any comments, questions, concerns, your thoughts, opinions, comment down below. Give the video a like. As always, I'll comment back and respond back to you guys like I always try and do. Subscribe if you are new so we can make more of these videos and you can see more content just like this. Hoping to have some more comparison videos. Hoping to do a deluxe 1005 pretty shortly here this spring, summer too as well, so we can take a look at one of those for 2025. But that's going to do it. You guys all have a great day. Bye.